Drugs have become a part of our culture, and drug abuse a fact of life. Alcohol. Many more misuse prescriptions or use a variety of drugs.
They hurt people, families, business.
Within the workplace, studies indicate that drug abuse costs the U.S. economy $60 billion each year. This translates into higher absenteeism, increased accidents, sick leave and medical claim costs. There are mistakes made, the products poorly manufactured, and the markets lost.
With cocaine, if you take the drug acutely, you have increased energy, you feel more confident, you feel that you can do things you normally couldn't.
I had a film to produce, and I was on this set all the time, and I thought, this drug makes me much more creative. This drug makes me feel good, makes me smart, makes me speak well. I think I'll do it more. And I did, and so within 6 weeks I was addicted to cocaine, and I knew it. I was freebasing. I thought I couldn't think about anything but cocaine.
Initially, when you start using the drug, you feel this is something you can control. As you keep taking it, and that's what I meant by insidious, as you keep taking it, at some point you find that you cannot control the use anymore, that the drug is controlling you.
Drugs at work. The costs are varied. The consequences can be devastating. But on January 4th, 1987, Amtrak's Colonial 94 collided with a Conrail locomotive that was on the same track. 16 people killed, 175 injured, $17 million lost in damages. The Conrail engineer had been impaired due to marijuana use. Drug abuse, pervasive, costly, deadly. How do we start to address drug abuse at work? It begins by educating everybody in the workplace. In the past few years, the government and corporate realms have taken action to address the problem of drug abuse on the job.
In the 25 years I've been dealing with people abusing drugs, I could count on the fingers of one hand those individuals who felt when they started that they were going to get into trouble. Normally people have this idea, it isn't going to happen to me.
Corporations are also taking action. Over 45% of Fortune 500 companies have adopted some form of drug in the last several years. One corporation, Capital Cities ABC, a media conglomerate with over 19,000 employees worldwide, addressed this issue in 1984.
I suspect that many of us were vaguely aware of the reality that, like all other elements of American society, we probably had a drug problem. But the specific impetus for our what's become our program was the fact that we experienced a death during working hours on corporate premises from a cocaine overdose. We have operations, I suppose, in perhaps 25 or 30 of the 50 states, and it seemed we had essentially the same problem every place.
But across the nation, people are fighting back. At the forefront of this effort are Employee Assistance Programs, or EAPs. They're designed to help employees who have problems that affect them and their work. One serious concern is drug abuse. Over 80% of the Fortune 500 companies provide EAP services. In 1950, there were fewer than 100 EAPs in various companies.
We feel that the right thing to do with an employee who uses drugs is get them into treatment. So provisions must be made for an employee assistance program.
Some people deal with it initially just because they felt they ought to do what's right for their employees or their members. After they do it for a while, I find out that it's economically sound.
Makes excellent business sense because it's a cost-effective way of dealing with a problem. It reduces absence, it helps employees' morale, and it isn't just the employee themselves that we deal with, but some of the problems that they have within their families as a result of substance abuse.
EAP, assistance for employees and often their family members who need help. There is no one ideal program. Each EAP is tailored to the needs of the company, agency, or union it serves. For some, there are internal programs where counselors are on company staff. For others, there are external programs where employees go outside the company for counseling services. Whatever the design, there are some important elements which any good EAP must have. These can be seen through the experience of successful programs. A critical element for its success is trust, creating a place where employees feel safe to discuss their concerns freely.
If they come in, basically what they're going to expect is a confidential interview in total privacy. Nobody outside of the closed door knows what's going on. Totally safe.
How employees enter the EAP and what kind of assistance they receive varies with each individual's situation.
Substances and alcohol for me were a very positive thing. They were recreational. They felt terrific. There was excitement. There were a group of us. We had money. We dressed well. We drove cars. We took vacations. I had maybe 10 years of that. Then somewhere in the late 70s, a door closed. I couldn't stop. I was now doing this in order to feel normal. I mean, to function in the world out there. To pretend that I was okay like everybody else. I needed to drink a minimum of every 2-3 hours. I couldn't sleep. At one point, I was drinking a gallon of wine a day. I was drinking, in addition to that, a fifth of peppermint schnapps. I was doing 2 to 3 grams of Coke.
I had a call from a boss who was quite upset with the way that he was working with one of his people on a project. His lunch hours were getting longer, and he was not the kind of person she wanted to work with in the afternoon after he'd had his lunch hours and drinking at lunchtime. I said to him, I think it's gotten to the point where I'm not sure I'll be able to give you any more work. It's to the point where you're going to have to do something. And I said, the best remedy that I know is to talk to somebody who's a professional. That's when I said, I think our EAP people are equipped to help you. They'll be able to talk with you about what's going on, and they'll be able to give you some alternatives and choices about what to do about it.
It's basically the investment that we have within our employees that make a printing company. Without the employees, you have nothing but walls and equipment. It won't run by itself. We need well-trained, competent employees. And that's why what affects them from doing a good job to a mediocre job to a bad job is in the company's interest. And if the employees are under the influence of drugs or alcohol, there's a good opportunity that a man can have his arms severed or his fingers severed. An innocent employee may be critically hurt or killed.
Most people who abuse alcohol and drugs deny they have a problem. Those around them may not know how to help. Referral by unions or management is a key means to get employees to use the EAP.
For a supervisor to confront an employee with a significant performance problem, there's probably nothing that supervisor would least like to do than that. And in fact, they don't.
How do you recognize
and that's one of the major challenges of an employee assistance program, is how do you work with supervisors to help them to do that?
Well, normally it starts affecting their performance, and this is what we tackle. Mm-hmm. You're not doing your casework correctly. Is there a problem with some of the aspects of the training, some aspect of the job? What is bothering you? Mm-hmm. We need to have quality work. Okay. And yet we're not getting it out of you.
The key is the confrontation. Mm-hmm. The key is talking to the employee with the documented evidence, that this is what's wrong, this is what's going on. That's the key to it.
The workplace is important because it can make an intervention in people's lives because it holds something very critical and dear to an employee, and that's the job.
The earlier we can intervene, the better off we are. Why are employee assistance programs so successful? Because they have people who haven't lost it all. They have people who have supports, and the more we can capitalize on those supports, which oftentimes means tough love. It means confronting an employee with a problem. That's part of the process and one of the reasons why this is so successful.